The following video contains mature content not suitable for a younger audience. Please watch another video instead. Otherwise, viewer discretion is advised. So, the reason why I wanted to make this discussion, mainly because not really a lot of experimentation with different ideas for anime games, since usually with anime games these days they always focus on the RPG aspect and just mainly just attacking shit and all that. Not not a problem, just seems to be pretty saturated with all that in the anime gaming sphere these days. It's mainly just RPG and fighting, and none of the and also story based for the most part. And then pretty much the gacha system, which I pretty much loathe that shit with a passion. A decision that I question so many anime game companies for, and why they even do that to begin with. Especially with playable characters, not so much as support characters. They just add on and you don't play as them. You just use them for buffs. So, I guess I'll start off with one idea that I've been thinking of for a while. An anime game. Well, I'm gonna borrow a little bit from my AOWSCS video a bit, which I may just post here if I feel like it. But an idea for one anime game in particular, a proper survival game, survival open world, if you will, but using an anime character that you've customized from scratch, and then using them to play said open world survival game, either with a story or make your own story, like with Minecraft or The Forest, for example, or even Sons of the Forest, since they're both related. But also, do not add a gacha system, because I feel like a gacha system to that game, well, what I mentioned already, that would be pointless to add in that game. And that would just open the door to predatory microtransactions. So how I'm thinking this would work, like, you go in, you're sent to a character customization section, like with most games. But of course, the character customization don't limit certain things like the breast, like the breast, thighs, and all that. If you're playing as a female character, if you're playing as a male character, well, I mean, not really much to do to customize them. Either you want to make them fat, skinny, or muscular as hell. But that's really it for the male part of the customization. The female part is really where the true customization should be, in just customizing your female character the way how you want without any limitations, which is what I've also discussed in my AOWSCS video. Just avoid limiting certain customization on specific parts. Shit, if anything, do what Zoe has done. That game where it allowed you to customize your own Zoe character. Although almost limited in certain aspects, so that needs to be worked on. Pretty much the customization of Enzoy and the customization of League of Maidens bring that into this survival game. So then, when you finish your character, done, boom, you just automatically start, or you're automatically put into this, let's say like a forest and such, or you just pretty much do the basics of your typical survival game go. Gather resources, wood, build yourself a shelter, etc., etc. As to drive the story forward, since I did mention this would be like an open world survival game, maybe, I guess, collect items that play a role in the story progression. Like random pieces of paper with notes on them, items like videotapes or cassettes, just anything with some information in them to have players piece together and see what's going on the island. I'm essentially I'm essentially bringing in the forest a little bit in this idea. Yeah, so create your character. You're put into a survival situation. You just do your basic survival stuff as you also collect some info or whatever items you happen to find. And then as you progress further and further, you'll eventually stumble upon a point where a decision you make would impact the way how the game continues, and then it would determine what ending you get based on the decision that you've made. There we go. Second idea, they'll continue to bring the ability to to make a custom-made character, but put them in a colony simulation type game where, yeah, you have your standard run-of-the-mill colony survival logic, but instead of using like procedurally generated characters, you can just make some custom made characters, or just have a bunch of default characters do some mundane things, while you use your custom made characters to do like the more important or vital task in your colony as you develop it. Yeah, so colony sim, custom characters, they build your society. You're basically the mayor and such. Uh, you're not a custom made character. You're just basically not exactly God, but you're pretty much like the mayor of the colony, trying to make sure that it's been managed well and that supplies remain high. Although a bit more toned down than compared to like your average colony sim, but just the right balance of difficulty. And then have different difficulty levels if you want to try it. If you want it to be more challenging. With like, let's say random natural disasters or disease or something. Obviously, no politics in that game, unless you're talking about Frostpunk, especially its second version, where politics is used a lot to manage your civilization in those games. But not for this game idea. I don't want to include politics in there. Where your efforts. Well, that's well, for this idea, essentially, yeah, but except it's a colony simulation. Although some colony simulations do have random events where the decisions you make could change the way how the game moves forward. So perhaps, let's see, for buildings, your standard food, shelter, water, etc., etc. But You also get to build like the fun buildings, you know, the types that you rarely ever see built in most colony sim games. Because colony sim developers are too chicken to add them in. Like, you know, brothels. Frostpunk has that. Or essentially, you know, your run-of-the-mill red light district stuff that you rarely ever see in colony sim games, apart from Frostpunk. I would like to I would like to put the option of like if you're one of those players that don't enjoy that stuff, you can just turn that off. But if you are the type of player that just doesn't give two shits and wants to experience the game in full, then keep the adult stuff on. I would imagine like a setting for that game concept where it's just basically called adult mode. You have that on, and yeah, let your imagination go wild. But if you like to turn that off, then yeah, you're just basically playing like essentially. I would put it roughly 65% of what the game can offer. I would imagine that game concept would definitely bring in some DLCs for like, you know, new buildings and uh, a new quest, like an explicit mode like the one in Baldur's Gate 3 or essentially, yeah. That way you can just keep the Twitch moderators happy and not freak them out like squeamish little children. There it is. Just TLDR, basically what I've just said. So, just to repeat again, zero tolerance for gacha with these anime game ideas. Because, you don't want to encourage gambling addiction. especially with the especially with what gacha games do nowadays, just increase the chance of a gambling addiction from happening. I mean, some anime games, they already have like some moments of goofiness, but like they don't do it as much, only in like certain scenes of anime games, like with the Zenless Zone Zero, for example. It has its goofy moments, but what if you've elevated that to maximum? Like just the whole, like a whole anime game that's just goofy in nature and has like a good sense of humor. To be fair, the good sense of humor, it is subjective with anime games on what determines as good sense of humor. Like a witty one-liner or a haha gotcha moment. Okay. One. Here's another one. This one involving the use of creating your own maid characters. Essentially creating your harem of maids that essentially explore like this dungeon where they try to find valuables for you. And then you use those valuables to improve them, in which they have better gear to explore the dungeons in the most harshest environments you can think of. But you also get to treat them right. I guess Horizon Walker would be a good example, but except the characters in that game, they're basically agents that serve a human god, as far as I understand. But this game idea, you basically, and I'm bringing back the concept of customizing your maid character. Details and everything, depending on your preference. No limits. And after you've finished making their body, you can, well, essentially start out with a preset made outfit, but I guess later on you can customize the outfit that you'd like from what you've unlocked, or you find a certain, let's just say, module that has like a little, let's just say like an energy module that has like the symbol of a sewing machine. Use that, and you can make your very own made outfit. Could be sexy looking, could be modest, modern, Japanese. Essentially, let your ideas go wild in the way in your own type of in the way how you envision your own type of made outfit being worn, and keep it detail oriented. Essentially, have it be more of like a like how, let's say, essentially how you customize your character in the Vroid Studio, but instead of just the characters after you finish customizing them, it's with their outfits. And then also try to keep it simple enough to customize certain parts of the made outfit by having like different sections, like of course how you have different sections in the character customization in most games, but not just with the character itself, but with their outfits. Do that with like a custom made outfit module, and then save it as a preset to switch that outfit to your made that you've created. Here's a fun part. Also, include buffs onto the made outfits, and even onto your custom made ones too. And the buffs can be found in these dungeons as the maids explore them, well, without dying. But once they stumble upon, let's say, like a random chest or that little crack in the wall that might reveal something premium, you have that as like a chance to discover buffs that you can apply to your maids after you've completed the dungeon, and apply them on upon completion. Either have them applied automatically, or don't apply them automatically, and then take your time to apply them to a maid that you want to have that ability. As for weapons, well, you either want to go melee or long distance. So your typical sword, javelins, guns, bow and arrow. Pretty much the standard weapons that you'd see in most anime games, period. And of course, essentially any maid can use these weapons. Like, you give them a gun, don't know how to use it. You give them a sword, don't know how to use it. Essentially, the point being that the maids have been trained to use any kind of weapon at their disposal, no matter which one you go with. And I'm guessing the way how this will work, like, they'll go in and then they'll do the job. Kind of want to make it like a turn-based thing, but it'll just be automatic. It'll just be them automatically attacking enemies. And I guess, well, actually, no. They encounter enemies, they go to them, and then they automatically start attacking without you doing anything. They just do the work. But when you guide them through the dungeon. You pretty much guide them and take them to random parts of the dungeon to collect stuff. So I guess right there, uh, a a maid dungeon game where you make your maid to take into a dungeon and a few more per se. Take them in, have them go and collect resources and fight enemies, which they probably be. I would have mentioned like these dungeons, they've been basically turned into crypts, and then enemies just and then the enemies are just more of like deformed versions of animals, humans, and beasts. And it's up to your mates to go and deal with them with the most brutal of force, with whatever weapon you give them. That's what I could also add is like, uh, not like secret items, but like random items you find, more for like collectibles rather than achievements. And then I guess to keep the game interesting, like introduce like holiday events or like or like game specific events that are related to what you discover in the game. Yeah, I'd say more like holiday type events would work out. And then after the dungeon's done, obviously your mates would take damage and such. You would probably need to have them rest. As for the spots to have them rest, well, since it is an anime game after all, put them in like a sauna. No, not sauna. Uh, a hot water bath, uncensored, of course, but also include that adult mode option to turn off if you want to avoid TOS bullshit. Essentially, just being able to appreciate what you created. As for the limit of how many characters you can create, I guess it just would depend on how the game is developed. Like if you want to run smoothly without any stuttering or lag, I guess definitely set a limit. But I guess if you want to keep it unique, I'd okay. Let's say yeah, you're customizing them all, but you don't want to have too many. I guess I guess minimum. I guess you would like have like a minimum of say 6 maids, and then like the max that you can create. Let's say put it at 20. 20 maids maximum, unless unless like an update would change that to increase the maximum amount of mates you can have. I guess also probably also incorporate what Zenless has done. Uh, your mates working together based on the buffs that you put on them, which would help amplify another mate's damage or support the maid squad throughout their dungeon exploring. As for like the way to upgrade them, uh, I would only see you collecting a certain type of item to upgrade them, rather than utilizing a shit ton of coins to pay for the upgrades. really give you a reason to go and explore the dungeons more and more to make your maids powerful. Essentially, the way how I envision this game, I would envision it more like a Deep Rock Galactic, except that you're not going in to mine for minerals, you're just basically going in there to basically do what a maid usually does. Clean up. Clean up and organize. Except that they get to take back some loot that they found in there. As these crypts work differently as they randomly generate stuff. As for the crypts themselves, I imagine like let's put it at let's put it at like 5 different crypts, each one a unique atmosphere and a unique design to them. And you would have to think differently on how you would explore these crypts while trying to keep your maids alive and not take too much damage in the process. And one last thing to add to this idea, for the maids themselves, like to express themselves. Let's see. Well, I did bring up the hot water bath. Make them your personal plaything, maybe. A semi-dungeon crawler with PvE elements. Yeah, essentially that's what I'm going for, Nox. I feel like there should also be an option where you can go back to modify your maid some more. Maybe like find a certain item in the dungeon that will allow you to modify your maid by just redeeming a certain item, and then you can change their body and everything again. There we go. Third idea. When I made my AOWSCS video, I basically said at the end that I challenge any game developer to create this idea to bring the idea that I mentioned in that video to life, of an anime open world survival crafting simulation. The challenge is still out there, just no anime game studio has attempted to do that yet. Although maybe in this decade that might be possible, assuming that they'll do it. Who knows? And if they do, they'll probably just add another gacha system to that game, which would just be a pain in the ass to deal with. Essentially, it's just a cancer. If they try to do that with that concept of adding a gacha system to the game. Even worse if you try to make characters that players want, but force them to have to gamble to get them. Which is why I did not bring up gacha with these ideas at all. If there even is like an anime game developer that can resist putting gacha in their games, then that'd be great. Mainly indie developers can do that. If you rely on a big company developer, then they will easily resort to gacha quickly. Mainly because they just need that money. And if they don't implement gacha, then they just die, sadly. Whereas with indie devs, they rely on the support of their fans. And, well, mainly what most indie devs do, they already have like their own financial backing with Patreon and such, so they won't have to worry about finances to pretty much push forward the game that they want to sell. Which is why certain indie games have done so well over the years. even games from the past that had outlived their own time, which they still continue to be discussed to this day.